Check 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate? Yes! Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need. Get over the fear and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello, everybody. Michael Quarles with the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Today, I have with me Jerry Fink, and it is his second time on the show. It'll be the first time you folks get a chance to listen to him because the first time my recorder didn't work, which is like totally embarrassing and awkward to have to invite a guest back again. But our first conversation was so great, I kind of had to. It was like, you know, when you talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about and are driven to help folks, then you have to ask them to share that again when things didn't work out the first time. So I'm going to introduce him and we'll go from there. So Jerry, tell us about yourself.
I'm Jerry Fink. I'm one of the co-founders and managing partners of the Bascom Group, based here in Southern California. And we started our company back in 1996. And the focus of the company was to acquire, renovate, reposition multifamily properties in Southern California at that time. Since then, we've acquired about 265 apartment communities representing more than 70,000 units across the country, all value add and operationally distressed type properties since our formation back in 1996. And our business plan is pretty simple. It's really buy, fix, and sell. We typically partner with institutional investors such as the Quarles and Morgan Stanleys and Oak Trees, and finance our acquisitions with acquisition reposition loans to buy, renovate, and sell those properties.
And what do you mean by distressed properties?
Sure. Our main focus really is value add, and that can be anywhere from distressed, meaning they're in need of capital improvements, or they're poorly managed, or they could be very well managed properties, but again are needing capital improvements or upgrades to make them competitive with the competitive set.
So you're increasing value based upon something that they don't have yet, or they're not doing well yet.
Exactly. I mean, many properties that were built, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, were Class A properties at the time they were constructed. But, as developers have upped the game with better amenities and color choices and designs and interior features, many of those Class A properties that were, the nicest available back, 15, 20, 30 years ago, now are in need of a makeover or just adding amenities that are, more fashionable today than they were back at that point in time.
Do you see a period of time that the units have to be rehabbed? So if I do you do it every 20 years, every 30 years, every 40 years? Is there a period of time that when you see a building, you go, okay, it's this old, we absolutely have to go and refurbish it?
That's a good point. And, typically after, call it 5 to 7 years, paint schemes, interior finish, countertop styles, carpeting, flooring, all start to become a little bit dated because there's a new generation of flooring and countertops and cabin faces. And so even after 6, 7 years, a building can begin to look dated relative to, what is being built today. And as a result, they may get lower rents than a newer constructed property that's got all the latest features and finish.
How do you revitalize an apartment complex, though? I'm thinking, and just because I'm not an apartment person, but I'm thinking, these 250 units were these 1,000 people that live there, and they've been there and lived there for a while, and the city's kind of grown away from them. How do you revitalize that so the city wants to come back to that apartment complex?
That's a good question, and we look at kind of a couple facets to our renovation. And, one is the interiors where people live. And in the interiors, we look to, oftentimes, take out the old carpeting and put in kind of the faux wood flooring. We'll often paint or replace the cabinet faces. We'll put in new countertops, sometimes Formica or a refinished countertop or even a white quartz countertop. We'll put in deeper sinks to accommodate, a much more attractive kitchen layout. We'll put in newer lighting fixtures. We'll put in low flow toilets and shower heads and other things to save water as well. And we'll do our best to really modernize that interior unit so it looks like some of the buildings that are built today, getting much higher rents. But then second, in addition to doing just the interior renovations, we'll look toward the common area and exteriors. So the exteriors will look to sometimes replace the wood siding, or we'll repaint the building, or replace the windows. With the clubhouse and leasing area, we'll go in there and sometimes redo the amenity package. So we'll add in a movie theater or expand the pool and put cabanas and barbecues in, add playground or tot lot areas for the kids. We'll put in dog parks, which are one of the hot amenities today. So we'll not only upgrade, the quality and look of the leasing office with kind of new flooring and lighting and paint, but we'll also add additional amenities that are attractive to tenants. So it's really, two approaches. One is on the interiors, which is where the people live, and two is the common area leasing offices that are what people see when they come to go visit the property and decide to rent or not rent.
And so I think you made a statement, or I took it as that anyway, that you're making the units appear to be worth more than what you're leasing them or renting them for. So if they were in a newer area, you would be able to capture larger rents. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I think we look at the comparable set. So when we're looking at a building to acquire, we'll look at the competitive position that sits in today. So, a 2-bedroom might rent for $1,000 because the property's got deferred maintenance or it looks dated. But if we survey the market comparables in the area, we might find out that people that have put in, newer flooring and refaced their cabinets or put new cabinet faces and have some nicer amenities might be getting, $1,200 a month in rent. And so we'll see a potential premium of, call it $200, per month per apartment to go in and do upgrades. And so we'll look at, well, if we can generate, for example, a $200 a month premium, it's $2,400 a year of additional rent. And, let's say it costs $10,000 to make those upgrades, we could potentially get a 24% return on cost for doing those capital improvements and upgrades. And so that's how we kind of look at the science of, do you put money into the units and can you raise rent and can you get a sufficient return on cost to make it worthwhile? And we typically look for at least a 10% return on cost to justify putting additional dollars in to renovate an apartment.
So that $10,000 figure, is that a pretty consistent number that you look at?
It varies. We've spent as little as, $5,000 or $6,000 kind of per unit, overall renovations, to as high as $45,000 per unit in renovation. So really, it runs the gamut. I'd say in the higher income areas where you can get a bigger increase in your market rents, you can afford to spend more per unit doing renovation. In some of the middle to lower income properties in the Sunbelt states like a Tucson or a Dallas or Atlanta, you may only be able to spend $8,000 or $10,000 per unit because the rental premium that you can charge for an upgrade unit is only so much, and run the math and make sure it's feasible to do those upgrades. So it really depends on the area that the building's located in and sometimes the condition as well.
So are you using the rehab as your future equity position, or are you buying these properties at a discount originally? A discount off of what they're actually worth when you purchase?
That's our goal. Obviously, we'd love to buy it for, below market value. And typically, if the landlord is charging, lower rents than a normal building, the building should sell at a lower price because you've got to put money in and time and effort to move that up. And it's no different than, driving down the street and you're looking for the worst house in the block. And, it's a house that's got weeds growing and maybe some deferred maintenance, and it's selling, $50,000 less than a typical home. And so we look for, that similar example, but on a larger scale with apartments. Our goal really is to, not only get a discount to, the competitive set, so to speak, or market comparables today, but really buy below replacement cost. So if it costs $200,000 per unit to build a brand new Class A property, we like to be at least a 25 to 30% discount to replacement cost to buy an existing building.
Interesting. You mentioned earlier, and I'm going to call it you used the green word. You didn't say green. I'm going to use the green word. When you rehab these properties, are you trying to make them more energy efficient? Are there tax savings that an industry like yours has by doing that? What do you do to the building to make them more energy efficient or more green for the consumer?
Sure. And, we kind of believe in this people, planet, profits, and we believe that you can not only deliver, items that are socially good for people, but, you can make money doing it as well. And retrofitting your buildings with energy and, water efficient fixtures are definitely the way to go. One of the first things we look at. So when we walk into a unit, the first thing we look at is the toilets and the shower heads. And, many of the toilets and shower heads that were put in 15, 20, 30 years ago, are consuming 5 to 6 gallons per flush or, X gallons per minute shower head. So, and oftentimes these cities give you rebates where they will cover the cost of, new toilets and shower heads just if you replace them. And so we'll look to those rebates or city incentives to replace the toilets and shower heads and water features. We'll also look to do kind of this zero-scape landscaping where we go in and take out, real grass and put in artificial turf and, succulents and cactus type materials and crushed rock to lower the water bills as well. And then the lighting side too as well, most cities have incentives to take out the old incandescent lights and replace them with energy efficient LED lights. And they'll oftentimes give you incentives to do that as well. So a lot of these items you can do, for very low dollars, or the cities or municipalities will give you rebates where, it's a very low cost or no cost proposition to replace them. And you can get anywhere from 15, 20 to 50% savings in your utility bills.
So if I owned a 12-plex currently, how would I find out if my city or municipality offered those incentives? Who do I call?
Definitely just call the local water district, or, look on your water bill or electric bill and call them. And, 9 times out of 10, they're going to have some kind of incentive program where, bring us your old toilet, we'll give you a new toilet or a rebate for doing so.
Interesting. Do you do anything with solar in your properties?
We have done solar, but on a very limited basis. And, solar can be very energy efficient, but the challenge is solar still requires a pretty significant capital outlay, and you can get tax credits and rebates for doing so. But we haven't done a lot of it just because the internal rate of return has been 14, 15%, which is good, but a lot of our investors are shooting for higher rates of return.
Gotcha.
Thanks for listening. We'll be right back. Are you running out of leads? It's time you tried Yellow Letters at yellowletters.com. Get motivated seller leads through yellow letters, postcards, zip letters, typed professional letters, greeting cards, door hangers, and business cards. Yellow Letters is a full-service marketing company created with your success in mind. Get the personal attention you need to get your direct mail campaign started, and get in touch at yellowletters.com.
And we are back in 3, 2, 1.
Strange question, but how did you get into this business anyway? What was the driving force?
I think the driving force was, at least for me personally, I was in graduate school and studying finance, and in finance they teach you that there's this efficient market theory that, a practitioner can't beat the market because the market's so efficient. I took a real estate class randomly, and the professor said, this is how you make money in real estate. You buy low, sell high, or you create value. And I walked out there and felt, wow, it's something I can control and do. And real estate's one of the few businesses where it's a very inefficient market, meaning that buildings are priced all over the board because they vary in quality and location and ownership and how they market them. And for the practitioner or investor who wants to get their hands dirty and put the time and effort and sweat equity in, you can create value, and not only create value, but you can borrow 60, 70, 80% of your purchase. So, it's one of the few vehicles where you can borrow a lot of money. You can buy a relatively small asset. You can buy a a condo or a duplex or a triplex. And you can create value and create, with a combination of leverage and creation of value, can make yourself wealthy if you continue along that program.
So I can't imagine when you were in economics that you'd ever think that you were going to know how much water a toilet flushes in your lifetime.
Exactly. Never thought that. I was more worried about duration analysis and regression when I was in graduate school, and I realized when you're out in the real world, it comes down to replacing toilets and renovating units and raising rents and cutting expenses.
Yeah, one of the things I thought when you were talking about, the 6 to 7 years, and then you have to go back in and maybe refurbish a property, bring it to more modern standards. If you're doing this consistently, how do you know what modern standards are? And it seems a silly question, but
sure.
If you're always painting a wall white, how do you know when not to paint the wall white and to paint it purple?
Exactly. So we're always looking at new buildings being built. And so when I see a new building going up, I may not want to buy it for our company, but I want to go tour it, visit it, walk the units, look at the amenities, and learn what developers are doing today, which is cutting edge development and amenities, because they're putting in all the latest technology, all the latest hot amenities, all the latest features and finishes. And I'll look at that, and then we'll also look at the hotels. Hotels are very, very similar to apartment. They've got a leasing office, they've got rooms, and so I'll go to Las Vegas and we'll look at kind of how they're doing leasing offices and pools and so really it's studying what is being built today for new construction and learning what they're doing, and then looking at how you can apply that to a building that might be 30 years old.
Right. I imagine the internet has changed what a building looks like.
It has. And I think that, the great thing with the internet is if you're not sure about what's being built today, you can quickly Google it or go on House or, use that Google Maps and look at a neighborhood across the country and quickly analyze a building without ever, physically flying there.
What do you see as the next trend in multifamily from a technology perspective? What's the new consumer requesting?
From a technology standpoint, there's things like the Nest, which is, it's kind of the, Apple or iPhone of a thermostat, where you can call in from your car and turn your air conditioning on before you even get to the unit. It's a system where it learns your daily behavior so it can turn off and turn on and cool at the right temperatures. That's kind of something new that's being put into apartments. LED lights, we have what's called a technology package, which is the Nest. It's the LED lights. It's the USB ports in the kitchen. A lot of properties they offer Wi-Fi around the pool areas so people can go hang out at the pool or clubhouse and work on their laptops or cell phones. Those are kind of the big things for technology and at least for the units themselves.
Do you find that the internet is keeping people home over traveling?
The internet's making apartment searches more efficient. In the olden days, you had to get in your car and grab a brochure at the 7-Eleven or something and go look at apartments by driving it down the street or looking at some magazine. Today with the internet, you can go online, whether it's Craigslist or apartments.com, or just Googling a location, and you can look at pictures, you can look at reviews, you can Google Earth it, so you can do a lot of your legwork before you even get to the building. So the internet's becoming, and you can compare prices too. So you can look at 7 or 8 buildings and compare the pricing and narrow it down to what works for your budget.
Great answer. I didn't ask my question correctly.
Okay.
Does the internet keep your tenant, your active tenant, at home more? And if so, do you have to supply them with anything to keep them active so they can enjoy their life better? Because I'm just thinking, if the internet for me, I don't have to go shopping now. I can just order it on my iPad.
Exactly. I think that's it's kind of an interesting thing is that at least the millennials or the younger renters today, as much as you feel like they're in the room playing video games in the darkness, they also want to be social too. So, as much as they've got Wi-Fi and you can argue they don't need to leave their apartment, they really want, they're single people. They want to meet other, girls and guys. And, often they'll they want to go down to a common area, much like a Starbucks. So what is big today is turning your leasing offices and clubhouses, which, 25, 30 years ago were used just as a marketing tool, and people thought, well, no one really uses them, but I'm just going to use them to sell the renter. Today, people want to go down there and socialize, and so they'll bring down their laptop, maybe their headset, and they want to sit at, a table or picnic-like environment and meet other people while they're doing their emails or doing their work. So, as much as we think they've become, less social, they do want to hang out in a common area. And, the Starwood hotels or W hotels are the first ones to do that, which is create these common areas that people can go down and, check emails and drink coffee and kind of hang out in a social environment. So the business has changed where creating those social environments where you can do those things has really picked up.
So you basically have a little mini city.
Exactly. And I think that's the one thing that, apartment community really is, people may think of it as a 300 unit apartment community, but, oftentimes there's, 2 to 4 people living per unit. So you may have, as many as 1,000 people living in a 300 unit apartment community. And that's a small city.
Do you have any industry that, like little Starbucks, do you, let's call it a little McDonald's, do any of those kind of facilities inside of your?
We do. We do. And if you can add those, that's great. We have a property called the Breakers in Denver where it's got a cafe, we have pool parties. We've got, yoga classes. We've got fitness trainers. It is like a small city and a small village where we've got a lot of these amenities that are comparable to a small city.
Which I imagine the more items that someone enjoys doing, the less they'll move.
And that's exactly true. And if you can keep people there and not keep them happy while they're living in a unit, but keep them happy while they're out there, enjoying the amenities, they're less likely to move out.
How long does someone stay in an apartment complex like yours?
Yeah, the normal turnover is about 60% per year. So, 1 year later, a building may have 60% new residents, and that's pretty normal in the industry. It's lower in, the New York City and Santa Monica and San Francisco markets where you've got rent control. And in some markets like Atlanta, Dallas, or Phoenix, the turnover is higher.
Interesting. That seems like a large turnover, but I guess it isn't, being someone in the single family business. We thrive off of folks that are moving out of multifamily.
Exactly. I think the typical renter is, very transitional. They're, maybe out of college or high school and, they move somewhere, they like one place, and then a year later they're moving somewhere else because they met a roommate or something, or have a girlfriend, or, all kinds of, or they've got a new job somewhere. So it's, it's a transitional business, and that's pretty typical. What's the cost of that new tenant to you? The typical cost can be, anywhere from $150 for just some basic cleaning and, carpet shampoo or whatever, to it can be several $1,000s of, new flooring and so forth if the unit is damaged. So, yeah. And you got downtime of, maybe sometimes anywhere from a couple of days to 3 weeks of lost rent while you find the new renter to start paying rent. So, turnover gets to be very expensive on an apartment. Okay, I would imagine so. How do you attract that person in the first place? What do you do from a business perspective to tell people about your complexes? Sure. Well, I think there's certain things like the industry's changing. It used to be mainly print ads, and now it's online ads. Craigslist is a huge driver of apartment renters. Probably one of the biggest drivers in the country is Craigslist. In certain markets, it kind of depends on, what service they use. But, the internet is huge. People often just Google, they'll say apartments in Scottsdale and, look at 10 options. And so you have to have a good online presence, and you have to have good quality professional photos. You have to do a good job so you've got a good online reputation, so your reviews are excellent. So, those are all things we manage and monitor, very religiously to make sure we get the best reviews possible. And then obviously once that renter, finds the pictures, finds your website, looks at the reviews, and it all checks out, and, they make the visit to the property, it's really having, the best quality, leasing agents that can do the best possible job, selling the renter on your building versus, another property.
Right. And imagine the reverse could be true, or the opposite could be true. You could be finding your properties that same way.
Exactly. So that's exactly true.
So if I had, say I own a 250 units and I have horrible reviews. I have a high vacancy. Am I a candidate to you or for you?
Exactly. So we love those opportunities. So we love an opportunity where they've had problems or bad management or bad reviews, and we look at the reviews to see, are there things we can fix? If it's just the manager has been a jerk to tenants, or the office is closed 4 days a week, or they're not making repairs to the property. Those are all things that are fixable with better management and money. And so we look for those opportunities where they're suffering from those problems to go in there and bring in professional management, a new business plan, new capital to improve the property.
How long is that transition period?
Typically, we budget oftentimes 2 years to complete the full business plan, and typically you acquire a property. To do the renovations might take you 18 months to complete both interior and exterior. Oftentimes it takes about a year to kind of stabilize the property, and then maybe in year 3 you're looking to sell it. Is it vacant while you're rehabbing it, or are you just portions of it? We've had vacant properties. I think our preference is to keep them occupied. So you got cash flow to cover operating expenses and debt service. And, how we do the renovations is you can do the exterior renovations, like the leasing office and clubhouse, and maybe close it down for 2 months and, move your leasing office to a unit temporarily. So you can do the exterior while people are living there, obviously. But the interiors, we wait till someone vacates. So if a person will move out, we'll renovate that unit, upgrade, modernize it, release it at kind of new market rents, and bring in new renters. So if people are living there, we're not renovating the unit until they vacate the unit. Gotcha.
And so where's your business going? Where do you see it in 5 years?
We see it continuing, and I think in real estate, it's always cyclical, and we've had a great kind of market here. At some point in the future, we see the market, declining, and hopefully we can take advantage of those opportunities. But, we continue to kind of, buy, renovate, and reposition one property at a time, so to speak. And, we look forward to the younger generation of people in our company to kind of take a larger role and continue, hopefully, the success of our company.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I was looking at Denver not too long ago, and I was surprised that it was collecting, or the rent rolls were the same value that purchasing a property was. And I imagine there are a lot of people out there that don't want to go into the home ownership status, and so your industry is perfect for them.
Exactly. I think that's the one big debate today is, a lot of people think that, the millennials, don't want to buy a home. And, a lot of them saw people lose money in the downturn and, got jaded because of it. But, today I believe that a lot of young people actually do want to buy a home, but, a lot of them can't because they don't have a down payment. The banks today want pretty large down payments, anywhere from 10, 20% down. Second, they want, almost perfect credit. And so they want big down payments, perfect credit. And for a lot of young people today, they don't have the big down payments and they don't have perfect credit because they might have had, some credit card delinquency or student loan problems. And so because of those reasons, or a lot of times they just don't have a job because the economy may not have fully recovered. So, it's a very difficult time in the industry today because banks are very strict on lending requirements, and a lot of young people, again, don't have a down payment or credit. So it's creating an environment where, it's difficult to buy a home today, and that's why a lot of people are, renting.
I can see that. Absolutely can see that. Especially, some of those folks who had home ownership now can't because of the cycle of our industry.
Exactly.
What's in it for you? What's the reward at the end of the day? Because at some point, the money, although it's important, you have enough of it. So after that,
Sure.
After that, what's in it for you?
I enjoy, seeing the transformation of an older, dilapidated or building with deferred maintenance being transformed into a, attractive, beautiful looking modernized property in an area, and watching, that process go from, or that, transformation happen to a building. So we enjoy that process. We enjoy seeing, the young people in our industry, learn the business and take responsibility and authority and make money for themselves as well.
And what advice do you have for that econ student? I think
the best advice is really, join a company that's out there doing what you like to do, and, learn on their behalf and their money, and, learn from their experiences and failures, and seek out mentors that have done this kind of thing before, and really learn from the people that have done it and made mistakes before, and spend your time and hard work doing that before you go off and try to do it on your own. How
does someone find someone like that, though, in your industry? I mean, my industry, we have them all over the place. Sure. But in multifamily, I don't see a lot of mentors out there.
Yeah, the best thing to do is really get on the internet, and, you can start with your, university. A lot of times there's a real estate program. You can ask your professor. Oftentimes you can just Google, value-add multifamily sponsors, and, cold call people and tell them that you're a young person in the business and, would love to work for free or learn the business, or even have, buy them coffee and kind of pick their brain at, how they do things in life. And you'll find, people are pretty receptive, more receptive than you may think, in helping to educate, younger people, because a lot of times they see those young people, and then when they look at them, they see themselves and realize that was me 30 years ago with a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and desire to learn the business.
Yeah, I think at some point we all realize we have to start paying it forward. And exactly. Because someone did it for us. I vividly remember the gentleman that took me under his wing when I was I think it's 19 years old and knew nothing about real estate, but owned some property. So that was kind of a cool thing.
And for me personally, that's, I love doing that because it energizes me to see the energy in young people, doing what I did 20, 25 years ago.
And hopefully they can avoid the mistakes. I guess they're only mistakes if we do them twice.
Exactly. So, and as I tell people, the road to success is full of potholes. So it's never easy, but it's always a fun journey.
Absolutely. What would you like to add that I haven't asked?
Good question. I think you covered kind of most of the great things. And I think real estate, again, is one of the, tremendous areas that offers kind of unlimited potential to someone willing to kind of work hard and learn the business.
Yeah, we're certainly not making more of it. So it's definitely going to go up in value and be profitable for those of us that work it. I appreciate you being on again. I'll tell the story to everybody after we're done about how my recorder didn't work the first time, so I appreciate you being back.
Well, thank you, Michael.
Well, I got to say that was interesting. I had fun the second time. And don't hold it against me that my recorder didn't work the first time, but it was worth the second go around and a repeat. And I hope you guys learned something out of that. I certainly did. The little nugget I learned was Craigslist for finding property. So listen between the lines of that one, because if you're looking for multifamilies, I think you just got a nugget from this man. Talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.